Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this next occasion, I will explain about the part point of holiday books. The first chapter actually will be explained by two presenter, me and Miss Yeni Rika Rahmawati. So this is my part about the architecture of language. The first one about text and grammar. Yeah, text and grammar. This term refers to any instance of language in any medium that makes sense to someone who knows the language. And the two main angels, the first one focus text and object in its own right, and the second one focus on the text as an instrument for finding out about something else. There are three examples of text. The first one, it is written in order to be spoken and to be spoken on an all important public occasions. For example, you may see this is the speech transcriptions, and the second one, it is a written text that which we could, if wanted to, read aloud. You may see from cold power until wash loads. And the last one, it is a spontaneous spoken text. You may see there is a sentence that, oh, I've heard about this, and etc. So what distinguishes any one text is the way these resources are deployed. Next, the first about the constituency from phonological. Its food, in turn, is made of a number of syllables. And rhyming segment, the preceding segment to which it is attached is called the one set. Both one set and rhyme can be further analyzed as sequences of consonant and vowels. You may see this is the example of phonological constituency from the song Little Miss Muffet Sat on a Tuffet. If you want to know about this song, you may search from YouTube. This is the simple song, children's song. This is the food. You may see from the table, food, syllable, and the text on the line. The second one from constituency is about graphological. It may be in modern English writing, the sentence beginning with a capital letter and ending with a full stop, also sub-sentences that contains by punctuation marks such as colon, semicolon, or comma, or spaces and letter. You may see this is the subsen, and the word. Next, about the lexicogrammatical constituency, that each written sentence is maybe clause complex and its substance is one clause. You may see from the example the word group and the clause complex. The five principles, the first one, we may pay attention about clause, phrase, or group word and morpheme. And the one of more units consists of one morpheme. Next, about the third part, Units of everything may from complexes also. Phrase complexes, group complexes, and word complexes. Next, about the rank shift, the potential rank shift that may be done rank to function in the structure of a group. And the last one about the under certain circumstances. This is the five principle of constituency in lexicogrammatical. This is the notational and the sample, the three strips about cause complex, two strip cause complex, and space it means word. Next, about phonology and grammar. The first one, the part of phonology and grammar. There are two regions of phonology. The first one about articulation and the second one about the prosody. There are three factors that need to be taken into account. The first one about the salient and syllable. The second one about strong syllable and weak syllable and long or short phenomenon in spontaneous dialogue. About intonation or the tone of the group, also popular with tone unit and intonation unit. This is the analogic patterning of unit across content, lexical, grammatical, and expression. This is the example you may see. And next about the syllable and phonemes. Next, below the foot is the syllable, as already remarked, and foot consists of full number of syllables, one or more. Yeah, this is the figure, the system network for prosodic system in English phonology. There are pre-tonic, that without and with pre-tonic, tonic composition, there is simple or compound, foot composition, there is simple or compound, ictus or state, filled, and empty, and etc. In this book, we show need don't be afraid because not need to be concerned with the detailed analysis of syllables and phonemes. For discussion of the grammar, the important part of phonology is prosody, feature of intonation and rhythm. You might highlight this part. And the transcription that will be needed is one which shows the intonation, no, and rhythmic features of speech, but which use ordinary orthography for spelling. So that's all about my explanation. And the next topic from this part, this chapter, will be explained by Ms. Rika. Please continue, Ms. Rika.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I will try to explain about basic concepts for the study of language. Language, based on its function, is as a text and as a system, and then second as a sound, as a writing, and as a wording. And the third as structure or configurations of part, and then number four as a research or choices among alternatives. Systemic perspective. This is the reason language evolves. They are not designed, and evolved systems cannot be explained simply as the sum of their parts. Our traditional compositional thinking about language needs to be, if not replaced by, at least complemented by a systems thinking whereby we seek to understand the nature and the dynamic of a semiotic system as a whole. It is from Matheson and Halliday, chapter 1, and references there are to Chapra, 1996, and other proponents of systems thinkings. And then language is a natural, human, adult, verbal language. Natural here means language as opposed to design semiotic like mathematics and computer languages. It is from Halliday and Matheson 1919, page 29 to 46. And then adult, it means that as opposed to infant proto-languages. And the next verbal as opposite to music, dance, and other languages of arts. It's based on Kress and Van Leeuwen, 1996, and Otto Litt, 1994. Also Van Leeuwen. From these dimensions or forms of order in a language and the ordering principles, there are from dimension there are structure or syntagmatic order, and then system or paradigmatic order, and then stratification, and then instantiation, and then metafunction. Uh, from this dimension in the principle structure, this is has a rank, and then the order are clause, and then group or phrase, and then word, and then morphemes. From system or paradigmatic order, this dimension uh, to principle delicacy, and then to orders, grammars, and then lexis or lexicogrammar. From dimension stratification, the principle is realization, and then the orders are semantics, lexicogrammar, phonology, and phonetics. And then number 4, from dimension instantiation, and then the principle is instantiation, and then the orders are potential, subpotential, or instance type, and then instance. And then the last one is metafunction. From dimension metafunction, the principle is about metafunction, and then the orders about ideationals or logical or experimental, and then interpersonal, and then textual. Outer sears mean this is kind of the dimension. Yeah, the dimension. Example, metafunction. There are consists of ideational, and then interpersonal, and then textual. First, structure or syntagmatic order. The ordering principle as defined in systemic theory is that of rank. Compositional layers, rather few in number, organized by the relationship of each part of. As look at table 1.4, compositional hierarchies in English. In domain, there are 4 domain. There are in sound, in writing, in verse or spoken, and then in grammar. And then in compositional hierarchy, there are in sound, tone group, and then food, and then rhythm group, or and then syllable or hemisyllable, and then phoneme. Here and in writing, the compositional are sentence, subsentence, word or written, and then letter. And then in verse or spoken, they are stanza, line, foots or metric, and then syllable. And then the last one in grammar, the compositional hierarchy is from clause, and then to phrase or group, and then word, and then to morpheme. Next, the grammar is the central processing unit of language, the powerhouse where meanings are created. It is natural that the system of sounds and of writing through which these meanings are expressed should reflect the structural arrangement of the grammar. We can see from this figure 1.6, it is the dimensions in language. The dimension in language from here, the first is instance or type or subpotential. Number 2 is about lexicogrammar, and then about third about the context of the language. There are, and then next number 4 is about ideational or interpersonal textual. Interpersonal textual is number 5. And then here, in the context of language, here, there are content consists of semantics. Here, conclude of context, content, and then the content is also about lexical grammar, and then expression here is about phonology and then phonetics. Number two, system, paradigmatic order. Structure is the syntagmatic ordering in language, pattern or regularities in what goes together with that. System, by contrast, is ordering on the other axis, patterns in what could go instead of that. This is the paradigmatic ordering in language. From Holiday 1966 and also Fawcett 1988, and then Booth and Matheson. And then an example would be all clauses are either positive or negative, or more fully, all clauses select in the system of polarity whose terms are positive or negative. So what polarity is refers to the grammatical system associated with distinguishing between positive and negative clauses. Basic clauses in English are positive. Basic clauses in English are positive, while negative clauses carry explicit marking using words such as not and no. In addition, more specific negation strategies can be used to negate particular constituents of the clause. For example, the derivational prefixes this, non, in, on, or an. And then the probabilities or kind of polarity probabilities to the two terms, positive 0.9 and negative 0.1. It is from Halliday and James 1993. The system of polarity. There, look at the figure 1.7. The system of polarity here. It is from Klaus. Klaus divided into two possibilities. It is can be positive and then can be negative. Next, the usual strategy for rendering a positive clause negative in English is to insert the negator, the word not, include the negator to the clause, and it become a negative, and then between auxiliary and the main verb. If no auxiliary was present in the basic clause, the dummy do is used. Example: Mel has not taken units in creative writing or cake decorating. Mel does not plan to take such units in the future. Not here is a negator to state that this clause is a negative clause, and then does not, also does or not here shows that this clause is a negative sentence or negative clause. Next, the system of polarity in delicacy. Delicacy here in system is a kind of blah blah blah. We can see from the table here clause there is a polarity or possibility become a positive and negative, and then negative type. There are two kinds, generalized and specialized. Specials here become two possibility, nominal group function and then clause function here. And the nominal group function divided into two, as deictic and as things, and then clause function in participation or in circumstances. Next, the mood system. The mood system is the system of grammar that related to the interpersonal metafunction of language, which are realized within conversation. The interpersonal metafunction is about the social words, especially the relationship between speaker and hearer, and is concerned with clauses as exchange. So the mood system there is in exists in a conversation. We can look at this figure 1.9. There is a clause, and then the status is a major or minor, and then the major, it is a predicator, and then major has a mood system, and then divided into two, indicative and imperative. Indicative here has a mood and finite, and also subject. And then indicative type divided is divided into two. First declarative sentence and then interrogative. Declarative here, if there is a subject and finite there, and then interrogative there, there is two possibilities in our two kinds of interrogative sentence. There is a yes, there are yes or no, and then the answer is yes or no, and then there is a finite plus subject, and then a double-edged question. Why, who, what, and then when, and then where. And then example. The Duke gave my aunt that teapot. The Duke here as a subject, and then gave, it is a finite past tense, and then from give as a predicator, and then my aunt is a complement, and the teapot as a complement also. The Duke here as a mood of the sentence, as a mood, and then give also give my aunt that teapot as a residue here. And then next, number 3, stratification. Stratification is a language, is a complex semiotic systems having various level or strata. Stratification consists of two kinds. Consists of two strata: stratum of content, stratum of expression. Stratum of content consists of lexicogrammar and then semantics, and then expression consists of phonetics and phonology. Look at this table here. It is content is about meanings and wordings, or word and structure. Meanings is about semantics, who study about the meanings, and then lexicogrammar study about words and structure. And then second, stratum of expression. There is sounds and letter here. Include of the phonology and or graphology or phonetics. Figure 1.10 represents the stratal organization of language and shows how the stratified linguistic system is embedded in context. So from the structure there, or the system of stratification in uh, clause or the system, there is also embedded in a context. So we communicate with others. We cannot, ignore about the context. And then next, the relationship among the strata, the process of linking one level of organization with another is called realization. Look at table 1.5 here, presents this model from the point of view of the speaker. It is hard to present it in a way that is neutral between speaking and listening. From the table in the here, from environment to meaning, it is interfacing via receptors, and then the study is about semantic. And then from meaning to wording is about internal organization, and then include to lexicogrammar. From wording to composing, internal organization include to phonology, and then from composing sound or sounding, interfacing organization via motors. Motors is like mouth, and then articulation. And then or sound system in our body. And then it includes the two phonetics. And then instantiation, number 4. What is instantiation here? The system of a language is instantiated in the form of the text. There are not two separate objects, language as a system and language as a set of texts. The relationship between the two is analogous to that between the weather and the climate. So Halliday analogizes the relationship between the system and the language as a set uh, between the weather, like a weather and the climate. Like the relationship between climate and the weather, the relationship between system and tech is a decline of instantiation. Okay, next. The decline of instantiation here. Look at this uh, figure 1.11. There is a system of language that has a potential and then the contact, and then uh, we has a line here, line here, and then that has a relationship one to another. Next, metafunction. Metafunction here, there are three kinds of metafunction. First, ideational metafunction, and then interpersonal metafunction, and then textual metafunction. Ideational metafunction consists of two kinds, experiential and then experiential, and then logical. And then what is experiential meanings or clauses as a, it is closed as a representation. So reality is represented and the grammatical resources for construing our experience of the words around us as to what is going on and what is involved in the going on and when, where, and how the goings on are going. And then number 2, interpersonal meanings. It means that the clause as exchange or to communicate or to social, to build a social relationship with other people. The interaction between speakers and addressee. There is an interaction between speakers and addressee. It is used to establish the speaker's role in the speech situation and relationship with others. One of its main grammatical system is mood and modality. It is from Matheson and Halliday, 1997. The third is about textual meanings. Is it the clause as a message? The creation of the text, the way we organize our meaning into the text that makes sense. One of the main textual system is theme and rhyme. It is from Matheson and Halliday, 1997. Example. The clause is Microsoft have expanded in China recently. From textual, in here I give an example about how textual, interpersonal, ideational of one sentence is analyzed. Microsoft here from textual is the theme as the theme and then have expanded in China recently as a rhyme. And then interpersonal, number 2 is interpersonal. It's about Microsoft as a mode and then have expanded in China recently as a residue. Also, in a mode here, Microsoft is a subject and then have expanded, have as a finite and then expanded as predicator, and then in China as Jiang and then recently Jiang. From the point of view of ideational, Microsoft as a participant and then or actor and then have expanded as a process here as a material, and then in China is a circumstance, and then circumstance here as a place, and then recently it is a circumstance as a epoch of time or explain the time here. Okay, next here we can see the meta function figure 1.12 here. Meta function is consists of textual and then interpersonal, and then from here instantiation there is an expression lexical grammar, semantic, and context here. And then next, now we are discussing about the location of grammar in language, or the role of the corpus. First, recapitulation, or locating the present verb on the map of language. In systems at every rank are located in their metafunctional context. This means, therefore, that every system has its address in some cell of a metafunction or rank metric. Example, the system of mood referred to above is an interpersonal system of the clause. So it is located in the clause row interpersonal column in the matrix. We can look here. Every cell has its own rank here, and then we can see the tree of metafunction here: textual, interpersonal, and ideational here. And in semantic is an example. There is a cell about clause, group or phrase, word, and also morpheme. And then uh, from here, and then there is a instantiation potential, subpotential, instant type, or instant here. Okay, next, number 2, text and corpus. Text is the form of data used for linguistic analysis, or a description of grammar is based on the text. And then here, I will explain about the history of corpus. From late 1940s to invention appeared which were to change the work of a grammarian, tape recorders and computers. And then tape recorder made it possible to capture spontaneous speech. And the computer made it possible to store and access data in increasing quantities. 10 years later, when Rudolf Quick at the University of London and William Freeman Tweddle at Brown University in Providence, USA, designed and began to implement the first corpuses of written text, they foresaw that operation would soon become computerized. At the same time, grammarians such as Halliday were recording natural speech and analyzing it for intonation and rhythm. It is the history taken from Halliday, 1963, AB, and 1967. And then now, indefinitely, we have a large computerized corpuses of both written and spoken text. So we can access it online. An example is our English corpus. We can see it in online, and then it is so easy, I think. And then next, the use of corpus. The use of corpus, or the function. The corpus is fundamental to the enterprise of the theorizing language. Number one, the function is its data are authentic because it's from the conversation, real conversation. And then number two, this data includes spoken language ranging from fairly normal or at least self-monitored speech, as in interviews, to casual, spontaneous chatter. And number three, the corpus is possible to study in quantitative. So for the learners of the foreign language learners, or the second language learner, I think it is a good idea to look at the corpus, so it is make easier to study uh, English and help to study more about English. Okay, I think enough for my presentation. Thank you for this chance. And then, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.